bet, homie. Alright. Even though it's looking straight, I feel like it's ouch. Kind of not. What's this side doing? Alright. Boom. So, what's up? Okay. So, it's me, and I wanted to just chat about something that's kind of been like on my, I mean, I don't get on the camera to talk about things that aren't on my mind. Recently, I just finished watching Jordan Peterson's latest podcast, right? And they were talking about psychedelics, 420, episode 420, psychedelics. And at the end of the podcast, I couldn't help but feel this similar feeling that I've been getting for a while now from a lot of so-called intellectual types, right? Well, I mean just intellectual types, but just white people in general. Because I think I just have to be straightforward about it. Because I feel like I feel like the topic is always danced around in these type of circles, or this environment, I guess you say, because people want to not use racial terms or whatever, but race is a reality, history is a reality, and I think it just needs to be, I feel like people are being too cowardly to speak about it, and I'm not, because I'm just an honest person, and I think we're not going to get anywhere without honestly speaking about it. So I mentioned this in one of my videos before, if you've been following my channel, or at least been following my commentary, and like, come on, let's be straight up about the history of things, like, we know that Europeans did not come to existence, let's say, not more than 20,000 years ago. And we do know that all life came out of Africa, or what is now called Africa, right? But we also do know that all the continents in the world used to be Pangea, until the cataclysmic event came along and caused the continental drifts. And people were around during that continental drift time. Archaeological data does point to this, but it is ignored. It is just like, we have the history of Atlantis in existence, Like, I feel like things that are true in our consciousness, in our subconscious, get ignored. So people have a memory. There is memory. I mean, there's historical memory of a greater civilization existing over 10,000 years ago, and there's a great cataclysm, the flood, as they say, that wiped all this off, and we know that extinction level events happen periodically, and that can, just end everything and have people start from, gathering berries again to build back up to where we are now. where do I go from there? So yeah, and also, we do know that the ancient peoples were, of course, highly intelligent. They were not so-called primitive, and they did have a great deal of technology. I mean, come on, we can't even build. We're not capable of building what they built before just because of the lost knowledge, And they keep digging up the earth. They keep digging up Africa as if it's going to get, not Africa, but rather Egypt, as if it's going to be whiter the deeper they go or something. And I think it's pretty clear that everyone was brown. And plus, there's just a lot of things about our history that European type people ignore, or just, well, I suppose I can't really blame the European for not knowing, because it's not in their memory. It's in the African memory, in the Aboriginal memories. The Asians have been around longer. They've been here just as long as we have. We know that all creation origin stories say we were seeded onto this planet. We came to this planet. So we are extraterrestrials, or at least our ancestors were extraterrestrials. We do know that there's the whole there's the Yakub thing. I haven't read too much into that, but it does fit into what the Sumerians talk about with their creation stories. And then we also do know that the Babylonians, the Hellenistic people, then the Romans, killed everyone. They killed everyone and then burned everything down and rewrote everything in their image. And we know that as well. So there's a lot of knowledge that doesn't get acknowledged because people don't know, or they don't make the connection, rather. And it's I'm very pitiful for them, because it's I think it drives in the issue of why race relations are so difficult to face today, because no one's really facing the real truth. And there's a lot of things that we are still uncovering, and there's a lot of things that have to be honestly talked about. I talked about the history of Christianity a little bit before in my channel as well, and it really seems like, I think it's obvious. I think it's pretty much a fact if you do the research about the Flavians and Josephus, and also Jordan actually mentioned this in his this podcast, how Dionysus became Zeus, Dionysus became Jesus, right? But before Dionysus, it was Heru, or Horus, as the Greeks would say. And then you can't look at it extremely literally, right? Because why would you do that? But symbolically, you have to it's weird looking at ancient history, because we have to think about the symbology that's been passed down through these myths that we are learning from, and also how it resonates with our own consciousness and what images appear when we think of these symbols, but it also takes unlearning what civilization wants these symbols to mean to us. So you have to strip the meaning from the culture, from this culture especially, but strip the symbolic meanings from the culture and see how it truly resonates in your subconscious, because the truth is deeper than what you think. People these days are secular thinking, right? But the problem is secular thinking doesn't really fit with reality, honestly. No matter how many of these people want to talk about whatever about Christianity or any of these stupid religions that are just bastardized versions of different sects of the Hermetic teaching, which all came out of Egypt. And, or I say Egypt, but when I say Egypt, I'm really meaning Atlantis, Mu, that type deal, because Egypt was around it. It was all connected at the time. It was it was one of the major cities at the time. Or I say cities, but whatever. One of the major nations, whatever. Yeah, I know what I mean. Also with this, with the knowledge, also with addressing the truth, it can give you a more honest view of why people go crazy in society. Because for me, especially, knowing all this, and for many other people as well, not just me, of course, is the whole consciousness awakening going on, where people are realizing, there are a lot of issues with this current how society is being run, and the governments right now are trying to put up totalitarian regimes subtly, or not so subtly, but a lot of people are falling for the bullshit. But they know, but regular people do know that something is up, and they may not know what it is, but in their hearts, in their subconscious, they feel it. And feeling something is I think is more powerful than knowing something, because it's you can trust if you have high what's the word I want to use? If you have if you are able to think clearly, your intuition can be very powerful if you trust yourself. So I think these intuitions that people are having are very, very real. But the problem is they don't know where it's coming from, and is causing a lot of people to be confused and conflicted on what side to stand on, and is causing all these major extremes. The political warfare, politics is mostly pointless, because the political system, how it's designed, is not designed with the people in mind. Or at least the people who are running things right now are not caring about the people. Because we see that the infringement on natural rights is encroaching. And honestly, if all the countries in the world aren't free, we aren't free either. So nobody has been free for a long time. Maybe more free in America to do what we want, but it's really as long as you assimilate to the system. And also that's the case for other countries around the world who are forced to assimilate into Western society, and then their own cultures degenerate because Western culture doesn't mix well with native cultures. Like the whole, like one thing I like to say, so like sexualization of things, right? Before the Westerners came around, most people ran around naked, and there was no, it was much, and people had respect for women and children more. But for some reason in Western society, women have to be covered up, women and children have to be covered up, because the European man, mind, whatever, can't control themselves sexually. And that's polluted the minds of many people worldwide. It's the reason for the rise of many of these problems that people aren't going to acknowledge, because they don't know that there was something before Western culture, and not even before Western culture, but even before Western culture, there was something before the flood that was extremely powerful for us. Because it's not like, because like the church, the Westerners came, what I say, the Roman Christian came and was like, oh, you gotta put on clothes because, I don't know, because they're gonna just rape everything they see because women are just being part of nature, you know? And I feel like this over sexualization of the body in that way has led to all these sexual deviancies we see now. Pedophilia, rape, porn culture, all this stuff. Commodifying the body in a way that it was never meant to be. And it's funny how Western society over sexualizes the human, over sexualizes the woman, but doesn't let the woman have autonomy over her body by keeping prostitution illegal. You know, it's a huge double standard that's happening. You know, even though I'm not so sure about prostitution practices before Christianity came along, but I would say before the Roman Christianity came. But I think it can be safe to assume that people were free before the Romans came and said no to everything. And plus, they like to fucking. They were. I mean, it's obvious that like Roman peoples had sexual issues or sexual deviancies that are just embedded into the culture. The pedophilia, the homosexuality, and all that, you know? Because even though there's the concept of child marriage in other native cultures, it was generally as, you know, when a girl comes of age, or a girl is promised to someone, or boy or girl is promised to another family type, whatever, for royalty reasons, or what can be said political reasons, which is like the royalty thing, I suppose, or just or like, you know, making a family bigger, you know, bringing the community together. You know, they had deeper reasons for marriage and all that kind of stuff. And the ideas about sex and romance were different as well. The reason the feeling is different because what is that? Because when we understood what love really meant as a force for good, and love as a power, love as a currency, of an exchange of energy, it was a different perspective about how people live their lives. Not saying that people didn't get married for like personal romance, whatever, which I'm sure happened more often than not. Arranged marriages, it wasn't the way that Westerners perceive it. That's cool. So yeah, I wanted to say with that, but you know, it's not only, yeah, I mean, Jordan Peterson is the only one. Obviously, this whole Western mindset culture is, people are trying to reinvigorate it. But the problem with that is, like, people keep saying this Jordan and his peers are white supremacists, you know? And who knows, for all I know, maybe he could secretly be one, but I don't really get that vibe from him, honestly. I mean, he's most of these people are talking about renewing Western ideals. But the problem is they think that renewing Western ideals will just fix all the problems that we're facing. The problem is we're still in Western ideals. The problem is trying to force it on other people, and it's caused this screwed up situation where people are trying to merge ideas that don't fit together. You know, like like the Hassan, Ari Hassan Ali was like, you know, like her speaking about about the nature of Islam in its true sense is terrifying, honestly, if you mix it with Western culture. I can't go anywhere right now because I can't remember off the top of my head, but it is one of my. It was I watched one of her early talks about it, and I see why it's dangerous to try to push it in a society where it's completely opposite. You know, like when the Europeans split up Africa, which they did, which is funny. I looked at the timetable of that again. You know, they freed the slaves, or they ended slavery in 1865, whatever, right? Or 1860s. And then like 10 years later, when African peoples are trying to go back to Africa, or at least before they get the idea to, or get the chance to, they split up all of Africa into like a bunch of nonsense pieces, like 53 countries right now. They split up all of Africa, and then put all these stupid borders, and then cause mayhem to the country where it's not even safe for people to come. It made it very unsafe for people to even return home because of how they divided the country up and all the other fucked up shit they did to propagandize people into making the white man their king, you know? Even though black people are king or royalty. Or who were the originals. It's like this great sin in a way where I spoke about this before. I think I've mentioned this before, like an Oedipus, the grand Oedipus complex of the West, where it's like the European man after the flood. I think it was prophesied as well in like the Egyptian, like ancient Egyptian stuff. You know, this stuff was prophesied that, you know, our people would be, you know, brought to become like slaves of whatever and lose our memory of who we were. And that's the reason they wrote it onto stone, so we could go back and remember. But then they did all that. They keep bombing stuff over there because they want to destroy all the evidence over there. You know?